Have you ever wondered why a hot summer day that feels merely uncomfortable to one person can become life-threatening to someone else? The answer isn't always found outside under the blazing sun. In fact, some of the deadliest heat-related emergencies happen quietly inside ordinary homes, where people believe they are perfectly safe. Every year, thousands of older adults lose their lives during heat waves, not because they were hiking, working outdoors, or exercising, but because they underestimated how dramatically the body changes with age. Many are simply sitting in a favorite chair with a fan running nearby, convinced they are doing everything right. What makes these tragedies so heartbreaking is that they are often preventable. Understanding just a few simple facts can make the difference between staying healthy and ending up in an emergency room. Today we're going to uncover 5 common mistakes that silently turn hot weather into a serious health threat, especially after the age of 60. Some of these habits probably seem harmless, and a few may even feel like smart decisions. But once you understand what heat really does to the aging body, you'll never look at a hot summer day the same way again. I'm Dr. John Meyers, and over the years I've cared for many patients who believed dangerous heat was something that happened to construction workers, athletes, or people spending hours in direct sunlight. They never imagined that simply sitting in their own living room could put them at risk. Yet again and again, I saw people who had spent decades handling summer weather without trouble suddenly find themselves overwhelmed by heat they didn't even realize was affecting them. The biggest danger wasn't the temperature itself, it was the false sense of security. Many believed they already knew everything they needed to know about staying cool, and that confidence kept them from recognizing the warning signs until it was almost too late. Before this video ends, you'll understand all 5 of the most common mistakes people make during extreme heat, why they become much more dangerous as we grow older, and exactly what you can do to protect yourself and the people you care about. Before we dive in, let me mention something that's at the heart of everything I teach. Staying safe during hot weather is only one piece of a much bigger picture. The choices you make every day, how you care for your body, how you build healthy habits, and how you prepare for the challenges that naturally come with aging, play an enormous role in whether you remain active and independent well into your later years. That's why I spend so much time sharing practical information that anyone can use. Small changes made today often prevent much bigger problems tomorrow. To understand every mistake we'll discuss, you first need to understand how your body keeps itself cool. Most people never think about it because, for much of life, this system works automatically. When your body temperature begins to rise, your heart responds by sending more blood toward the surface of your skin. That allows excess heat to escape into the surrounding air. At the same time, your sweat glands begin producing moisture. As that sweat evaporates, it carries heat away from your body, helping maintain a safe internal temperature. It's an incredibly effective system, and when you're young or middle-aged, it usually works so well that you barely notice it happening. The problem is that this natural cooling system slowly changes over time. After the age of 60, several important parts of the process become less efficient, even in people who are active and otherwise healthy. First, your body doesn't produce sweat as quickly or as heavily as it once did. Since evaporation is one of your primary ways of releasing heat, sweating less means your body holds onto more heat than before. Second, the signals that tell you you're becoming overheated begin to weaken, your sense of thirst becomes less reliable, and your ability to notice rising temperatures isn't as sharp as it used to be. Finally, your heart has to work harder than it once did. Moving extra blood toward the skin becomes more difficult, especially if you're already managing conditions such as high blood pressure or heart disease. None of these changes mean you've become weak or fragile. They're simply part of normal aging, yet very few people are ever warned that these changes are happening. There's another factor that often catches people completely off guard, and it's something many weather forecasts don't emphasize enough. Most people pay attention only to the air temperature, but temperature alone doesn't tell the whole story. Humidity can dramatically increase the stress placed on your body. Sweat cools you only when it evaporates. When the air is already packed with moisture, sweat can't evaporate efficiently. Instead of cooling you, it simply sits on your skin or drips away without carrying much heat with it. That's why 90 degrees in a dry climate feels entirely different from 90 degrees in a humid environment. Your body has to work much harder in humid conditions because its main cooling mechanism becomes far less effective. This is exactly why meteorologists often refer to the heat index rather than temperature alone. The heat index reflects how hot it actually feels once humidity is taken into account. making it a much better indicator of the stress your body will experience. Before any heat wave arrives, check not only the forecasted temperature but also the heat index. Turn on local heat alerts through your phone if they're available so dangerous conditions never catch you by surprise. As we go through each mistake, keep one simple question in mind. Is what you're doing helping your body release heat, or is it quietly making your cooling system work even harder? That question alone explains why so many well-intentioned habits fail when temperatures become extreme. The first mistake is one of the most common, and perhaps the most surprising. It's believing that a fan alone is enough to keep you safe. That idea feels completely reasonable because most of us grew up using fans every summer. When a fan blows across your skin, the moving air creates a refreshing sensation. On moderately warm days, it genuinely helps because it speeds up the evaporation of sweat, allowing your body to cool itself more efficiently. Under those conditions, a fan is an excellent tool. The problem begins when temperatures climb into the mid-90s or higher. At that point, the air itself can become hotter than your skin. Instead of removing heat from your body, the fan may begin blowing hot air directly onto you. Rather than helping you cool down, it can actually contribute to raising your body temperature. What makes this especially dangerous is that the moving air still feels pleasant. You experience the sensation of a breeze and assume you're staying cool, even while your core temperature continues to rise. This false feeling of comfort has led many people to remain in dangerously hot rooms far longer than they should, believing everything is under control until symptoms suddenly become severe. That's why health experts consistently emphasize that during extreme heat, a fan should never be your only line of defense. Air conditioning remains one of the most effective ways to reduce the risk of heat-related illness. Even spending just a few hours in an air-conditioned environment can significantly lower the strain on your body. If you have air conditioning at home, don't hesitate to use it during the hottest days, even if you're concerned about energy costs. Your health is far more valuable than a temporary increase in your electric bill. If your home doesn't have air conditioning, look for another safe place such as a public library, shopping center, community cooling center, or the home of a friend or family member. Giving your body several hours in a cool environment allows it to recover before dangerous overheating develops. And if you do rely on a fan, make it much more effective by lightly wetting your skin with a spray bottle, placing a cool damp cloth around your neck, or taking a cool shower. That moisture gives the fan something to evaporate, helping your body release heat instead of simply circulating hot air around the room. The second mistake is one that many people never think about because it happens quietly in the background. It is failing to consider how your medications affect your ability to handle heat. This becomes especially important after the age of 60 because this is the stage of life when many people take daily prescriptions for blood pressure, heart conditions, swelling, sleep problems, allergies, or other common health concerns. These medications can be extremely important and often improve quality of life, but some of them can also change the way your body responds during extreme heat. Let me be clear about something important. This does not mean these medications are harmful or that you should stop taking them. In fact, stopping certain medications without medical guidance can create a much greater danger. The key is understanding how they interact with hot weather so you can take extra precautions when temperatures rise. One common example is diuretics, often called water pills. Millions of people take these medications to control blood pressure or reduce fluid buildup. Their purpose is to help the body remove excess fluid. But during a heat wave, your body is already losing water through sweat. When you combine increased fluid loss with a medication designed to remove water, dehydration can happen much faster. The danger is that you may not notice it right away, especially because aging can weaken the normal thirst signal that tells you your body needs more fluid. Another group of medications that deserves attention is beta blockers. These are frequently prescribed for heart conditions and blood pressure management. During heat, your body normally increases blood flow to the skin so heat can escape. Your heart has to work harder to make that happen. Beta blockers can reduce how strongly your heart responds, which means your body may not adjust to high temperatures as effectively. They can also affect sweating, another major cooling mechanism. There is also a category of medications known as anticholinergics. These can appear in certain bladder medications, some antidepressants, and even some over-the-counter products used for allergies or sleep. One of their effects can be reducing your ability to sweat. Since sweating is one of the body's most important tools for lowering temperature, anything that interferes with that process can make a hot day more dangerous. The most important thing you can do is not panic but plan. If you take regular medications, especially several at once, talk with your doctor or pharmacist before the hottest part of summer arrives. Ask a simple question: do any of my medications affect how my body handles heat? This conversation may only take a few minutes, but it can give you information that protects you when temperatures become extreme. In some situations, doctors may adjust medication timing during periods of severe heat, but that decision should always come from a healthcare professional who understands your medical history. The third mistake is waiting until you feel thirsty before drinking water. For many people, this habit worked perfectly for decades. Your body would send a strong signal when it needed fluids, you would drink something, and everything would balance out again. But as we age, that system becomes less reliable. Thirst is not always an accurate warning sign anymore. Research from organizations focused on aging has shown that older adults often experience a weaker thirst response. This means your body may already be running low on fluids before your brain sends the signal that you're thirsty. Add hot weather, sweating, and medications that increase fluid loss, and dehydration can develop without the obvious warning signs people expect. By the time you feel extremely thirsty during a heat wave, you may already be behind. Your body has been losing water for hours, and now it has to work harder to recover. Dehydration affects nearly every system in the body. It can make your blood thicker, reduce circulation, put extra strain on your heart and kidneys, lower your blood pressure, and increase the chance of dizziness or falls. This is why, during hot weather, you cannot rely only on thirst. You have to drink consistently throughout the day, even when you don't feel like you need to. Keep water nearby so it is easy to reach. Take small sips regularly instead of waiting and drinking a large amount all at once. A simple routine is much more effective than trying to catch up after dehydration has already started. A useful way to monitor your hydration is to pay attention to your urine color. If it is pale yellow, similar to the color of light straw, you are probably drinking enough. If it becomes dark and concentrated, that is a sign your body likely needs more fluid. Of course, there are exceptions. Some people with certain heart or kidney conditions are instructed by their doctors to limit fluid intake. If that applies to you, your doctor's instructions always come first. Managing hydration is about balance, not simply drinking as much water as possible. If you are sweating heavily for several hours, such as during outdoor activities or extended time in the heat, remember that your body loses more than water. Sweat also contains minerals and electrolytes that help maintain proper body function. In those situations, replacing some electrolytes through appropriate drinks or foods can help restore balance. There is another common mistake people make with beverages during hot weather. They underestimate how alcohol and large amounts of caffeine affect hydration. A few drinks at a summer gathering or several cups of coffee during a hot afternoon can make it easier to become dehydrated, because these substances can increase fluid loss. You don't necessarily have to avoid them completely, but during dangerous heat, moderation matters. If you choose to drink alcohol or caffeine, balance it with additional water and pay closer attention to how your body feels. The fourth mistake is perhaps the one responsible for the most serious heat-related tragedies: trusting your own body to tell you when your home has become unsafe. This is difficult because we naturally believe our bodies will warn us when something is wrong. For most of our lives, that assumption is true. When we become too hot, we feel uncomfortable. We sweat more. We become thirsty. We move somewhere cooler. But aging changes those warning systems. The very signals that once protected us may become weaker. A dangerous heat situation inside a home often develops slowly. The temperature rises 1 degree at a time. The room feels warmer. But because the change happens gradually, your body adjusts. You may feel tired, slightly uncomfortable, or mentally foggy, but you tell yourself it's normal. You think, "I've handled heat before, I'm fine." The problem is that feeling comfortable does not always mean you are safe. This is why so many heat-related deaths occur indoors rather than outside. People imagine heat emergencies happening in direct sunlight, but many victims are found inside their own homes. They are often alone, unaware that the temperature around them has reached a dangerous level. Sometimes a fan is running. Sometimes windows are open. Sometimes the person simply decided to tolerate the heat for one more day. The solution is to stop relying only on how you feel. Use outside measurements and simple safety habits instead. A basic indoor thermometer can help you recognize when your home is becoming too warm. During extreme heat, especially if you live alone, It is important to have a plan before danger develops. Close curtains and blinds during the hottest part of the day to block direct sunlight. Remember that upper floors often become significantly warmer because heat rises. If your bedroom is upstairs and becomes uncomfortable, consider sleeping in a lower, cooler area during a heat wave. Try to schedule outdoor activities during cooler hours, such as early morning or later evening. The middle of the day, especially when the sun is strongest, creates the greatest challenge for your body. And perhaps one of the simplest but most powerful steps is creating a check-in system. If you live alone, ask a neighbor, friend, or family member to contact you during extreme heat. A quick phone call or a visit can identify a problem before it becomes a crisis. At the same time, check on others who may be vulnerable. Sometimes one small act of attention is what prevents a tragedy. And this leads us to the fifth mistake, which may be the most important of all: not recognizing when ordinary overheating has become a medical emergency. Understanding the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke can save a life. The fifth and final mistake is not knowing the difference between being uncomfortable in the heat and being in a true medical emergency. Many people assume that heat-related illness always begins with something obvious, but the reality is that the warning signs can be easy to ignore, especially in older adults. The difference between a situation that can be corrected at home and one that requires immediate emergency care often comes down to recognizing a few critical symptoms before it is too late. The first stage is heat exhaustion. This is your body's way of sending an urgent warning that it is struggling to keep up. At this point, the body is still trying to regulate its temperature, but it is becoming overwhelmed. Signs can include heavy sweating, cool or clammy skin, muscle cramps, weakness, dizziness, nausea, headache, and a fast but weaker than normal pulse. These symptoms should never be ignored because they are your opportunity to act before the situation becomes much more dangerous. If you notice signs of heat exhaustion, the first step is to stop whatever you are doing and move into a cooler environment immediately. Get away from direct heat, sit or lie down, loosen any tight clothing, and begin cooling your body. Drink cool water if you are awake and able to swallow safely. Use cool wet towels on areas where blood vessels are close to the skin, such as the neck, underarms, and groin. A cool shower or bath can also help lower body temperature quickly. When treated early, heat exhaustion can often improve before it turns into something more serious. But if heat exhaustion is missed or ignored, it can progress into the second stage, heat stroke. Heat stroke is not just a more severe version of feeling hot. It is a life-threatening emergency where the body's ability to control its own temperature has broken down. When the core temperature rises to around 104 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, the body enters a dangerous state. At these temperatures, the brain and other organs can begin to suffer damage. Every minute matters because the longer the body remains overheated, the greater the risk of permanent injury. The warning signs of heat stroke are different from ordinary tiredness or discomfort. Confusion is one of the most important signals. A person may become disoriented, speak strangely, act unlike themselves, or have trouble answering simple questions. They may faint, lose consciousness, develop a pounding headache, experience a rapid heartbeat, or have skin that feels extremely hot. Some people stop sweating because the body's cooling system has failed. That confusion is the symptom families often underestimate. They may think someone is simply exhausted, sleepy, or having a bad day. But sudden confusion during extreme heat should always be treated seriously. It is not just a normal part of aging. It can be a sign that the brain is already being affected by dangerous overheating. If you see these warning signs in yourself or another person, call emergency services immediately. Do not wait to see if the person improves. While waiting for help, begin cooling the body as quickly as possible. Move the person into a cooler place if possible. Use cold wet cloths or ice packs on the neck, underarms, and groin. A cool shower or bath can also help if it can be done safely. There is one important caution that many people don't know. If someone is confused, extremely drowsy, or unconscious, do not try to force them to drink water. They may not be able to swallow properly, and attempting to give them fluids could cause choking. Focus on cooling them from the outside while waiting for medical professionals who can provide appropriate treatment. This brings us back to the story of Frank. Frank represents many older adults who believe they are doing everything right, but do not realize how different their body has become. He was a man in his late 70s who valued his independence. He lived alone, managed his daily life, and considered himself capable and strong. He took medication for his blood pressure, including a water pill and a beta blocker. Both medications were helping him, but they also meant his body had fewer advantages when facing extreme heat. Frank had never been comfortable using air conditioning. Like many people from his generation, he grew up without it and believed he could manage with open windows and a fan. During hot days, he would sit in his favorite chair, keep the fan running, and tell himself that he was fine. The problem was that several risk factors were happening at the same time. The room was getting hotter, the fan was moving warm air but not truly cooling the environment. His medication affected his body's ability to respond to heat. He was losing fluids faster than he realized. And because aging had weakened his thirst and temperature signals, he did not feel the danger approaching. From his perspective, he was simply uncomfortable. He felt tired and warm, but he did not think he was experiencing an emergency. That is exactly what makes heat so dangerous. The body can begin failing before the person realizes there is a serious problem. Fortunately, Frank had something that many isolated older adults do not have: someone checking on him. His neighbor had made it a habit during the heat wave to stop by and make sure he was okay. One evening, she noticed that he did not respond the way he normally did. When she entered his home, she found him sitting in his chair, awake but confused. He was not speaking normally, and he seemed unaware of what was happening around him. She recognized that something was wrong. She did not assume he was simply tired or having an off day. She understood that confusion during extreme heat can be a sign of heat stroke. She called emergency services, began cooling him with cold, wet towels, and stayed with him until help arrived. Frank was taken to the hospital and treated for heat stroke. He spent several days recovering, but he survived. According to the doctors who cared for him, the quick response likely changed the outcome. Without someone noticing what was happening, the situation could have ended very differently. Frank's story highlights the most important lesson of all: preparation and awareness save lives. So let's bring everything together. The first mistake is believing a fan alone can protect you during extreme heat. Fans can help in moderate temperatures, but when the air becomes dangerously hot, you need a cooler environment, especially air conditioning. The second mistake is ignoring the role medications play. Some medications can affect sweating, hydration, and your body's ability to regulate temperature. Never stop medication on your own, but speak with your doctor or pharmacist so you know how to prepare during hot weather. The third mistake is waiting until you feel thirsty. As we age, thirst becomes a weaker warning system. Drink regularly throughout the day and pay attention to signs that your body needs more fluids. The fourth mistake is trusting the feeling that everything is fine. During heat waves, use a thermometer, create a cooling plan, and make sure someone checks on you if you live alone. And the fifth mistake is failing to recognize heat stroke. Confusion, unusual behavior, fainting, very hot skin, and loss of consciousness are emergency warning signs. Call for help immediately and begin cooling the person while waiting. None of these steps are complicated. They do not require expensive equipment or major lifestyle changes. They are simple actions that can protect you, your family, and your neighbors. Heat is something we all experience, but aging changes how our bodies handle it. The goal is not to fear summer. The goal is to respect what your body needs and prepare before a dangerous situation develops. If this information helped you, share it with someone you care about, especially an older family member, friend, or neighbor. Sometimes the smallest reminder reaches the right person at exactly the right time. A simple phone call, a glass of water, a cooler room, or knowing one warning sign can truly make the difference. Take care of yourself, watch out for the people around you, and remember, staying safe in the heat is not about being afraid of summer. It is about understanding your body and giving it the support it needs.